same time. So fine, so fine, so fine, we're so fine. Keep on, keep running, running and running. Keep on, keep running.
Program ready for the people today.
Yes, sir.
Do we have the program? Listen, we're gonna get right into it. I ain't gonna skip beat on it. We're gonna get right into it. Welcome to the All the Way Live podcast, featuring your boys Zoe Gila.
What up? Miles Xavier.
You know what it is. Whether it's one person, 10 people, 100 people, or 1,000 people, thank you, thank you. Thank you for joining us. This is nothing more than a conversation between brothers and best friends addressing what it's like to be black in this crazy world and whatever else falls in between things that we can discuss. Bro, I'm so happy to be here right now.
Hey, bro. Hey, bro. I feel it. It's in there.
It's in there.
It's in there. I feel it.
It's in there. Talk to me, bro. Because like what we're supposed to do initially is we recorded a episode 1.
Many episode 1s.
We recorded many episodes 1s. Last week we tried to record episode 1 because of load shedding and power cuts in South Africa, we had to kind of adjust. And now this is gonna serve as our official episode 1. And I'm kind of glad we got to run through the last episode because we kind of were able to pick through what we like, what we don't like about it, and come through with a super hard episode 1 right now.
What's good, man? What's good? So welcome. Welcome, y'all, man. Like you said, appreciate everybody who's joining into, like, and we're going to talk about this word a lot, right? It's a community right here. You know what I mean? What we're trying to build with this, I mean, we got vision. I want you to talk to the people about your vision. But yeah, man, this is an exciting time. Yeah, man, so grab a seat, grab a plate, put the kids up, hold your vice up, get in tune, man. This is the All the Way
For sure.
Podcast.
This is the All the Way Live podcast. And I think like just to like bring people into the world of the All the Way Live podcast, this is part of the production house that we put together, which is Livehouse Productions. We've got ideas on various different types of shows and programs and content that we want to be able to pull out. Real talk, as people, we just want to be able to give a space to be able to express our artistic interests and allow the people that we care about a space to do that as well. And starting it off is this All the Way Live podcast. And what we're going to end up talking about is the journey. And, you know, we're just excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you framed it like that, bro. Even in speaking about it as a journey, it's kind of even hard to know like where to start, right? Because I feel like what we're trying to do with this podcast, what we each do, you know, on the 9 to 5 tip, all of that, you know, speaks to, you know, a broader vision and informs who like we are and what this is. So if we can kick it off, first of all, I would like for you to just be like, just explain, first of all, like, boom, what your idea of this is, like what the goal of this platform, this space is for you. And I think from there we can roll into who you are as a person, what you do, you know what I mean? And keep it rolling from that.
Shit, I mean, and we spoke about this being in part of the format is being able to, you know, set the ground, introduce each other, introduce ourselves, introduce the concept and grow this organically. So what I see the space as being is honestly a communal space where ideas are going to be shared, topics going to be conversed about, coming from people who truly invest in a personal capacity to thinking about things, and just kind of bringing that, you know, kind of sharing that. More than anything is I want this to a place for people to feel safe in being wrong, because, you know, there's a lot of things that I don't know that I'm wrong about, and I want this to be the space where we can laugh about the things that we're wrong about, learn about the things that we're wrong about, and grow from the things that we're wrong about, you know?
Yes, sir. Hey, bro, we're gonna be wrong a lot. I'm glad you included that
Oh
in
yeah,
the introduction. We will be like, yo, joyfully wrong. You know what I mean?
the All the Way Wrong podcast.
At times, for sure. And yeah, man, we invite y'all to be wrong, to let us know, to be wrong with us, to let us know when we're wrong. We really do want this, especially, as we start out, it's an opportune time for this to be a back and forth, for this to really be, a communal space.
For sure. Like, and I bring that right back to you too. Same thing, my G. What do you see this whole this podcast being for you?
Yeah. And I feel like I'm cheating in answering this even a little bit because we did have, episode, the prequel to episode.
Practice.
Yeah, the prelude or whatever. But something I said during that was that if you Black, bro, it been hard. Like, period. And as a Black man, 2020 especially, but just life has been hard in America. And I want you to get into a little bit of your space as well. But I know that when it gets hard for me, it has benefited me hugely, like in ways that I can't even express. To have you to talk to have my other brothers, my older brother to talk to, even my younger brother, my pops, just the fact that he in my life, my moms, you know what I mean? The support system around me is built to last and has built me to last and just to hopefully continue to survive what this world is throwing at me and retain my sanity. But this space is important to me because I feel like it is a space for, those conversations which have been so fulfilling to me and so calming to me to run over into this space, into this community. Those conversations that keep me safe for us to bring back to other people. I think a lot of them, especially the ones that we need to have as Black men right now, in terms of the ways that we need to step up, in terms of the ways that we need to, stand up for our rights, the rights of others, to do better in terms of the way that we treat our women, to do better in the way that we treat intersectionality, the way that we deal with our emotions. So this space, I think, can be hugely beneficial to bring those conversations to. And I'm excited for it as an opportunity as well. I'm gonna stop rambling in a second, but so like really,
you're not rambling.
To really give everybody who sees this and who's in on this at this moment, right? Like, I want this to be as transparent as possible. We've had conversations about that, about really letting people know, like, you're gonna really see us build this up from, like, I'm not a very social media active person, you know what I'm saying? You've dabbled, been in and out of that social media sphere. But
the devil, I bounce in, get some DMs, and I bounce back out.
Bruh, see? Yeah, this dude the bandwidth bandit over here. But you know what I'm saying? It's like
bandwidth bandit, this thing. But like, and I'm not to cut you off, B, but like, I want that to actually be something that we get to talk about later on in today's episode, which is just about about social media and that type of thing. That's been something that I've been very interested in. So that, I like that. I like for that to be something we dive into at some point today.
Yeah, man, the social media growing, like, so you're gonna really see us really grow this mug from nothing. If you are seeing this is episode 1. Join, because like I believe in this. I think that we can take this. This is a moment that we can seize, bro. It's a moment we can seize in terms of talking about serious topics. It's a moment we can seize in terms of the world and the sphere of social media and content being Play-Doh for us to mold. You know what I mean? Not even in our own image, but in the image of our community, and representational images that people will see themselves in. I want other people to see themselves not only in this as we speak, but everybody, the community talks, but like to see them like literally know. I want my homies that do rap. I want the rappers to be hear their music on this podcast, hear us talk about it. I want the females that do hair, the dudes that do hair, whatever it be, have their shop mentioned on this podcast. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, this is a community. This is a platform for you. And get in while we little, and we want to link with all the builders, so that we can build bigger when we all big. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and we're people that have, we people that are exploring their artistic expression. Like I said before, like really, this is a matter of us taking a journey together as friends for a decade almost. As best friends for a decade. just kind of taking this journey together and take what we do in our professional capacities and bring that into a sphere that's slightly more that's more light and more and less formal and more inclusive for people to ride along with us in this journey. That's something that I'm excited to share for sure.
Big facts, big facts. I mean, you hit on something that's hugely important to me. I want to talk about hugely important topics, but I don't want to. There's a lot of things I don't want this shit to be. I don't want to pander to nobody. I don't want to,
That means there's some episodes that are definitely gonna have to get cut. If there's no pandering, there's some episodes that are not gonna make it.
There are some episodes that aren't gonna make it. There are some future episodes that I want us to have conversations with the people about. You know what I mean? But I don't want to pander. I don't want to take ourselves too seriously. You know what I mean? I don't want, this podcast I want it to be about life and a celebration of life, a celebration of Black life. And we have to, as Black people, navigate politics. But this isn't going to be a political current events podcast. You know what I mean? It's going to be, you're going to take those topics and those different things will weave in and out as they come naturally with the things that we discuss and experience.
Because that's not true to us, right? Like the whole concept of being up on pop events and popular, that's not something we speak about necessarily in our private capacity. So I don't think that that's something that wouldn't gel naturally. And what our artistic integrity with this comes into is that it has to be natural. If it has to be forced, or if it's something that we're uncomfortable with or don't normally interact with on a daily basis, then it's unnatural, and that's something that we try to hold dear to ourselves.
Yes, the flow is important. The flow will be discussed and addressed directly, corrected. Yeah, man. But another thing that go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking of flows, though, we do have a segment in this podcast, which is Dapping Up, where you just let us know what type of flow, what type of energy you're stepping into this podcast with. That's before we dive into the serious things, just to, clear the air, give each other space, listen to each other, and give a Black man a space to be able to express themselves. So dap in, my brother, and tell me what you're coming in with.
Bruh, thank you for bringing structure back to this month. Thank you for asking me. I think this segment right here, to dap up, is important for a lot of reasons. So I'm gonna extend it today, especially so that we can talk about not only how we're doing today, but also who we are. You know what I mean, and give a little bit of introduction into, I guess, the perspectives that we are providing, right? And also to dap up as well, because I feel like that speaks to Black men checking in. That's something we can do more emotionally, right? We naturally dap each other up. Let's be natural about seeing what's going on with each other too. So I'm straight, bro. I'm home. I'm healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The family is good. So that's 1, 2, and 3 right there. I'm hustling. I'm working. We putting together all sorts of content. We got this going. I'm doing my own little thing with the mixes. So I'm trying to write more, read more. But I'm good, man. I'm trying to take in all this crazy news that we are in the midst of, with not a grain of salt, but just like trying to take in what news I can, process it, talk it out, do the work I need to do, and then maybe expose myself to a little bit more news, because it's crazy out there. Just trying to find that balance. And then kind of rolling that into the introduction. What up, Wawa? I'm Miles Xavier. You know what I'm saying? AKA Samuel Ocean, AKA Finesco Bar. You know what I'm saying? The list goes.
Finesco Bar.
Hey, bruh. What to say? I'm coming to you live from the south side of Chicago. I live in South Shore. I work in this community in anti-violence and community support. Man. Before that, I was doing marketing research, which was cool, working with like data analytics. But I just reached a point where, you know, I had developed some skills in that area, and I was like, let me apply those skills to something a little bit closer to home for real. And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
You know, I love my job. I love working in my community. I love working with Black folks, particularly the Black folks that are really busting their ass every day to make a difference for these kids, to make a difference in the narrative that we see about Chicago. Yeah, so that's kind of the perspective I'm humbly coming to it with as like a newbie in this field, you know, standing on the work of so many other folks that I'm trying to educate myself about, and I will speak about later on this podcast. But I'm a music lover. I love hip hop. I love R&B. I love soul music. I love jazz. I love sounds. Man, what else?
You're a DJ.
Hey, bro. I don't know if I could wear that title yet. There's a couple titles. I'm under. Aspiration.
Bro, I'll tell you, G. Like titles are such a funny thing, right? And like titles and imposter syndrome are next to each other. Like recently, we were updating our LinkedIn page, right? And so I had a conversation with my sister, and I was like, "Is philanthropist the right word to use when it comes to work that people do?" Bro, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right writing philanthropist. So I ended up settling with the term activist. Literally asked it 3 times. I was like, "Oh, am I philanthropist? Are we philanthropists?" She's like, yeah, but it speaks to not wanting to associate yourself with titles, despite how true or not true that they might be and relevant to you. Because you are a DJ. You mix, you make sense, you have a DJ set.
Hey, bro. I think, all right, so what I'm gonna do is I love that. So what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna lay out some of the titles that give me imposter syndrome. Then I want you to talk about who you are, the work that you do, and maybe some of the titles that give you imposter syndrome.
For sure.
But that I am
for sure.
For it. So some of my aspirational titles include. Oh damn, we got.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Yo, I'm trying to get Siri to shout. Siri trying to join in on this too.
Hey, bro, that's how you know it's hot, bro. They listening. Hey, shout out our FBI agents in the background too.
Imposter syndrome. Let's listen up.
Yeah, but all right. So yeah, my aspirational titles: DJ. I think activist/organizer. I think those are nuancedly different things, and I'm trying to figure out, you know, where I might fall between those things. I do aim to be a philanthropist one day, so maybe we can add that to the LinkedIn at the same time. Yeah, man, and human first. Wait, Black man first, human second, or something like that. But those are in there too, man.
Depending on who you ask.
And I matter.
Depending on who you ask.
That's an important part of my identity right now. Has always been, but it's an important part of my identity to say.
Right now.
I'm an ally of women. I'm trying to be a better ally of the queer and transgender community every day. Yeah, man.
Look at you pandering.
Hey, bro. But aspirational pandering, you know what I'm saying?
Aspirational pandering.
Hey, bro.
So which titles then give you imposter syndrome? That either you've been called or that you do not like to recognize in yourself?
We ain't gonna get away from your introductions too far, but I think I wouldn't consider myself a DJ yet, especially in this time, what that means, especially online, right? So like, it's something I've worked on during COVID, during quarantine and all that, but I think until I get it together enough so I can navigate live sets in this day of streaming and licensing, or start performing live in some capacity, I don't want to call myself a DJ. That gives me imposter syndrome. Activist and organizer is really hard because there's so many. When I hear that, there's so many people who've done such amazing things, completed so many projects that I've witnessed and been a part of. But you know, I shy away from that, even though I want that. I'm working towards it. But yeah, that's what I would say. Let's go. Let's hear it.
And that's it. Yeah, for sure. And I'm gonna watch this segue. watch my segue. You feel me? But I was just gonna say, like, in terms of the whole imposter syndrome portion of it, it's like I think we always set like an interesting barometer for us to qualify once we've reached that place. And the funny thing is, it's like the higher you get to it, the higher that barometer keeps on going up. So it's gonna be like, all right, I want to be, I want to do. It's if I'm only a DJ if I'm doing live sets, and then it's like, okay, I'm a live set DJ, but I want to be a live set DJ. All to say that I feel definitely the same way about some of the titles that I'll speak on, but I'm checking in with nothing but positivity, um, gratitude, excitement. You know, the fact that my week ends with me getting to talk to my brother and going on this journey of forming a community to me is an absolute blessing. Um, so that's the energy I come with. Who I am, I'm an entrepreneur. I am a activist. I am a foundation co-owner. I'm a black man. I'm a free black man. Um, and when we come to things that like when it comes to titles that make me uncomfortable, definitely philanthropist didn't sit well with me. So I ended up changing philanthropist for activist. You know, and I do definitely think that with the work that we do, a lot of the work that I do definitely centers around being able to provide financial literacy products and services to disenfranchised people, running a foundation that looks to put solar computer labs into public schools in Africa that don't have access to those types of things. And so, you know, that to me is activism. That to me is that's my protest to the system, is to say, okay, there as we've been told that there's only one way for capitalism to allow you to thrive as a person, and that way tends to be opposite directions of how to help people. And I am protesting that notion with that you can definitely meet those two things in the middle and do it for causes that are furthering Black people and Black youth in particular. So Harambe.
Hey, yo, yes, Black capitalism is for sure an episode all on its own. And we will
definitely
pick that and many other things apart. But yeah, man,
successful. That's a title I don't. That's a title that's difficult to. That's a title that gives me imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Successful is something that gives me imposter syndrome.
I feel that. Elaborate on that.
It's because I think everyone's definition of success is very subjective. I think everyone's term is very subjective, and so everyone holds a unique understanding of what success would mean to them, but then a very superficial criteria of what success looks like on other people. And so people will then be very liberal in being able to extend that accolade to somebody, even though if they were in the same position, they still wouldn't be able to consider themselves successful. So it could be, an insecurity, whatever you want to call it, but that's definitely a term I struggle with. But I definitely, that's what we're working towards. That's the goal, is to be successful in our endeavors.
Well, I'm getting, you may struggle with these terms, but I'm getting successful and philanthropic vibes from you, dog. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's...
Likewise, brother. Likewise.
But so this is beautiful, man, because you touched on some things that I think allow me to kind of extend this conversation and continue to use this episode to like add context to what we do. So why don't you say a little bit more just about where you're at, where you're from, and then from what you said, I feel like, a lot of that has been centered around your community, your people, giving back, right? So why don't you tell us where you're from, tell us where you're at, tell us what's going on there, just in terms of some of the issues, some of the beautiful things, and then cap it off with what does success mean to you? You know what I mean? It means different things to different people, but what does success mean to you in that space and beyond?
G, like, reporting live from Johannesburg, South Africa right now. So, South African. Second home is Southside Chicago. Um, so I'm, being exposed to and around poverty and struggle is something that I've been fortunate enough to experience in different cities and in different parts of the world. So I think inevitably, once if you're privileged enough to be able to join the corporate sphere and to be a part of that whole thing, it's either you'll strive to excel in the corporate world, or you'll realize that maybe this is not necessarily for you and try to do things that are outside of that. And I think that we have been fortunate in the sense that we have bonded over our journey of being able to give back to our community started at the same time. So I consider that a privilege, and the issues are quite similar around the world, right? So, and I don't want to speak on what the issues are in Southside Chicago because I do think that you're more well versed to do that. But if we talk about just like Black issues around the world, right? If we talk about South Africa, our number one or one of the highest issues and should be rated number one is gender-based violence against our women. Our women are consistently being raped, murdered, and attacked at rates that are significantly higher than anywhere else in the world. You speak to women in South Africa, they'll let you know just the difficulty that comes in being a woman over here. But I don't want that to also overshadow the fact that South Africa is a place with some very, very serious creatives and entrepreneurial minds and spirits and intellectuals, young Black intellectuals. And I do really think that South Africa is the closest thing we have to Wakanda anywhere, which is pretty fly to me. So in being able to express like our work in the communities, like if you had to draw similarities between, and you've been to South Africa, so if you had to draw similarities between poverty in Africa and poverty in Chicago, what would you say it is?
I would say one that it's systemic, right? I would say that in both cases, it is systems, some working exactly as they're designed to work, others failing the people in various ways, failing to provide resources, failing to provide opportunities, failing to provide living conditions, failing to provide basic human rights. It's an institutional problem that allows different people across different generations to come into different positions.
Just kick the shit out of my laptop. My bad, Pimpin.
You say, yeah, that's right, nigga. That nigga preaching.
Preaching.
Any of y'all niggas out there catch the Holy Ghost while niggas is talking. Stand up, shout. You know what I'm saying?
Kick your laptop over.
Do what you gotta do, nigga. We gonna get to it in this month, but yes, man, I would say that the poverty that I've seen in those places is institutional, it is systemic, and it is disproportionately aimed like a weapon at Black bodies.
Give examples of the systemic nature in the systemic similarities.
Yeah, I would just say access is one, right? Access to a variety of things, access to education, access to tools, whether that's internet, whether that's books,
transportation.
Yes, exactly. The every little thing that we take for granted as we move up the economic ladder and get more comforts, right? People are fighting for and trying to figure out every day, right? So in trying to pull people out of that and trying to change that, right? You have to understand that poverty in these spaces, right, is whatever you're gonna ask them to do, whatever you're gonna ask poor people to do to fix the problem themselves, realize that they are spending energy figuring out things that you take for granted every day. So that's the type of shit that I see in both of those spaces. But I also see a beautiful, amazing, astounding, astonishing, awe-inspiring resilience. You know what I mean?
And sense of community.
Yes, yes. I see
and sense of community.
I see love. I see, you know, connections between people, between members of the community that pass the bonds of family, that speak to having been through something awful, but also speaks to having cultivated something even greater inside, right? And you see,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do that, bro. Like that's like,
I saw what you did that because you're talking about Africa, so you had to. I see what you did.
and Chadwick is on the mind. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. But
R.I.P. R.I.P. Nah, G, that's real, bro. That's real. And like, um, the funny thing is that you can the similarities between people in different hoods is so similar. Like that's why you can leave Southside Chicago and come to Soweto and like immediately assimilate, you know, like just assimilate to it because the heart and the energy and the spirit of people is very relatable and it's very natural and it almost is a testament to who people
Just
are
a sec.
at their core. Listen to Siri jumping in. Hold on, let me write these notes down. It talks to who people are at their core when faced with similar adversity and are stripped from the access and luxuries that distract us. Is that we really are a loving communal people.
yeah, and I think, I mean, speaking directly to that love, right? I think a big part of why I want this podcast to be so community oriented, right? So like for real, y'all, like whoever is listening, like put in comments, tell us if you like it, if you hate it, put in the link to
We're gonna read them.
yeah, put in the link to whatever you got going on, your project, you know, your job, whatever it is. Like this, I want this to have a sense of community, and I want this to be built around community because I feel so blessed. I feel like I've had so many experiences that I want to share, including right, like going to Africa. Not many Black people, not many African Americans ever have the chance to go back to Africa. Period. But for me to be able to go back and to be welcomed with open arms to a family, to your family, you know, and to be, you know, accepted in that way, in that space, bro, is like something that I want to share because it speaks to how powerful we are. You know what I mean? It speaks to just like the beauty of Black people, of the diaspora, of that connection, and it can exist. And I want to create that and share that with as many people as possible. Because there are connections to be made, you know what I mean? And who knows who the next two friends that meet, you know, with talking about the podcast, hearing the music we talking about, checking out Banger World, who knows who the next two people that's gonna connect and be able to bring something together, bring us all a little bit closer is gonna be, bro.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of it is bringing each other closer in this communal manner. All right, then in that case, if we're talking about bringing people together, we have also are experimenting with a segment in the podcast where we take topics from the comments, topics from people that we know. You want a gunshot? Is that what you said?
No, I said topics from y'all. So we're gonna do this one for y'all on the first time, but y'all gonna have to supply the topics next time. Keep this rolling.
For sure. So we're joined, you know, we have my sister Nawanda who's around, and the topic that she's brought up is the Kardashians ending their show. Can you like pull up like can you read what they were saying? So essentially, apparently, I don't know how to approach this. Not sure how to approach this.
So wait,
because I'm unfamiliar. I will admit.
Okay. So this is what are we talking about? Keeping the up of the Kardashians is a wrap?
Allegedly. Can you pull up what? Okay, we're about to. Okay, I have what was written from Kim Kardashian. From Kim Kardashian, she wrote this on her Instagram. To our amazing fans, It is question. So, question. If we get a topic, do we immediately discuss it, or do we decide whether or not we want to discuss it?
I think typically we'll decide whether or not we want to discuss it, but I'm down to see where this is going.
Okay, because I have decided I don't want to discuss this, but because I'm in it now, I will continue to read it.
We're in it.
We're not though. We're not in it. We say we're in it, but we're not at all in it yet.
Do we have other topics?
Okay. Do we have other topics? Joe Budden. That's a good topic to discuss.
Damn, we got all right.
Kim Kardashian or Joe Budden podcast. I don't know which way. No.
Somebody whose stuff I kind of like a lot, and somebody whose stuff I kind of couldn't even talk about. All right, I guess let's talk about Joe then.
Let's talk about the Joe thing. It's I don't know how we want to be able to bring it because it's from a bunch of different angles. But bro, I'll tell you this, right? It is. If for the audience that's unfamiliar, Joe Budden podcast is one of the most popular, if not the most popular podcast on Spotify. It's a podcast that we draw a lot of. It's a podcast that we enjoy a lot. I wouldn't say we formatted our podcast around it, but it's definitely something that we enjoy and we learn from. And I think that's important to note because the conversation around domestic violence and things of that nature is something that's entrenched in the debacle that's happening right now. There's a lot of things to unpack about it. Essentially, Joe Budden's contract, he has one of the largest podcasts in Spotify. Their contract is about to end. It happened in a very public fallout. Following that, there were accusations that have come up from ex-girlfriends that he beat her, and then both ex-fiancés said the same thing, that he beat them, and also allegedly masturbated a dog. I do not want to talk about the masturbated a dog portion of it because I do think that is irrelevant, and I don't think that is. I've been corrected to say that it's not irrelevant, but I would say that that is not something I want to touch on.
You don't want to touch on the dog, is what you're saying.
Okay, you see, I'm gonna need y'all to chill. I'm gonna need y'all to chill.
All right.
I'm gonna need y'all to chill. No, I don't want to touch on the dog, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's all you had to say, bro. That's all you had to say.
You trying to touch on the dog?
It was just, hey, dude, too soon, man. Too soon. All right. All right. So this is tough because first of all, I want to acknowledge that hell yeah, I fuck with the Joe Budden podcast. I listen to that shit often. Like you said, I think what we're trying to do here is a little bit different. But I fuck with their format. And they bring a lot of levity to my day when I check them out. So I fuck with them. It's hard to hear this shit about anybody that provides content that you fuck with, whether it's your favorite musician, actor, writer, whatever it is. A lot of us have had those people, whether you want to call them heroes or not, whatever, do shit that's fucked up. I think.
Do you believe it?
Well, so in Joe Budden's particular case, he's spoken at length about things that have happened in the past, right? There has at least been one accusation against him that was proven false. There's other accusations where he's acknowledged some wrongdoing, but not outright beating women. I would say that if I'm just keeping it, if I'm keeping the same energy that I keep with any of these cases, when there's multiple women saying the same thing, it looks fucked up, right? It doesn't look good for you because, if one woman says something, it doesn't look good for you, right? Mm-hmm. But you can plausibly say, I want to hear both sides of the argument, especially with somebody who's had these allegations leveraged against them falsely in the past, With this situation right here, I don't know. I haven't looked into the scenario, but when I've heard Joe Budden speak directly about this topic, he seems to be someone who brings the topic, the people involved, violence against women in the current situation. He seems to handle it with a certain amount of gravity and understanding of the seriousness of that, of those accusations and that act. That doesn't mean he didn't do it. And I will be the first to say that if it is proven that he did it, if we get evidence of him doing some shit like that, then I won't be able to enjoy that podcast anymore. For me, I guess I need to, this is more serious than I thought it was or than I've heard, so I need to educate myself more about what happened and what's being said happened. But as of right now, I haven't heard enough for me to be like, I'm completely done with Joe Budden. But this is an unfortunate situation to be in. Men out there, don't do nothing that even look like you acting any type of aggressive toward a woman. Because I think this speaks to, at the very least, a pattern of behavior of making women uncomfortable and giving them room to have something to complain about, which is something that men should be avoiding at all times, but especially right now.
Don't say gives them room for something to complain about. I don't think it's okay, because I don't think you can. How do I word this correctly?
I
don't want to say it gives.
Wording is off, but I'll let you kind of go.
I don't think complaining is the right word, right? Because women are very justified in the things that they are grieved about, incensed about, and upset about, right? And so I don't want to use the terminology like complain, which I don't think that's what. I don't think you meant it in a malicious way. I think you said, I think from what I know you meant is that giving women things to be upset about.
There you go.
Right? Okay, cool. It's important to note that. But yeah, man, it's I think it really does force us to have the bigger conversation about the ways in which men conduct themselves around women, right? And the uncomfortability that women feel. And I'm not saying that in this particular instance, but I think men need to be very cognizant about how much sooner the line of uncomfortability starts for women than we perceive in our head. I'll give you an honest example and one of a moment of honesty. I was sitting at the coffee shop, like I like to do. I'm sitting at the coffee shop. As I'm walking to the coffee shop, I got my shades on. As I got my shades on, I see two ladies dressed in ladies dressed in some revealing outfits, right? You know, just looking mighty attractive, right? Looking spoiler alert, this story doesn't end good. Anyway, so I'm walking with my lady, holding hand in hand, and I see these women approaching from a distance, right? I wear these, so I don't really see very well, so I didn't see it.
Yes.
But
this is what we call plausible deniability.
No, so I see these two ladies coming, and I look to the side, and the guys that are at the bookstore that I'm going into are staring at these women as they're walking by, right? And they're gawking. They're gawking. They're staring and they're gawking, right? Hard. To the point that I walked past them, sat down, and these dudes did not recognize that I was there, to the point where their manager had to be like, guys, come on. Like, you guys got good.
Tighten up.
For sure. So my lady sees that. We laugh about it a little bit. She leaves. I order a coffee. I have a conversation with these gents like, hey, Pimpin, you know, humor, banter. I get my coffee. As I'm getting my coffee, these same two women walk by again. As these same two women are walking by again, I am mid-coffee sip. I am now subconsciously staring at these women as I'm sipping this coffee.
or they've entered your sight trajectory. Who's to
You
say?
see that? This is what I like about you because I didn't even know that that's what was happening to me. But I'm gonna go with the way you said it. So I'm sipping my coffee, looking in this general vicinity, and they enter my sight. What's the word? What's the word? Peripherals.
Yeah.
They enter my peripherals.
No one's fault. It happens.
It's not mine. It's not my fault. I know that. So I in this peripheral is these ladies that I have now walked in. In this peripheral is my girlfriend looking at me, looking at that peripheral. Like that. You feel me? How she explains it is that I almost dropped my cup when she saw me walk by. I don't think that that necessarily was the case. All to say, that sparked the conversation that we had between each other where when she was saying that I downplayed what those guys were doing. What I actually said to those guys is, "Ayo, stuff like I said, shit like that would make you lose your job, right?" And we definitely had a chuckle about it. Then oh, dude, you know that is worth losing a job for, and I did not disagree with them when they said that. And so my girlfriend came through and she said that me laughing with them minimizes and diminishes the dramatic manner in which these men were acting and the uncomfortability that the women on the other side are feeling, and so it made me have to take a step back and like really realize that line of uncomfortability at even I, who's drinking coffee innocently and wasn't looking at these women, baby, you know what I'm saying? Like it's still something that you have to take into consideration and consider. Now moving back to the Joe Budden thing, right? It's like very, very different, very different things, but definitely within the same ballpark of making women uncomfortable. And it's important to not put yourself in a position at all that even approaches that line. But most importantly, don't put your hands on women, bro. Damn.
Yeah. And thank you, man. Thank you for, I felt that wording was off the end. I think you did a really good job of explaining kind of what I meant. I think we're in a very difficult moment where, did not mean to get this controversial on the first episode, but goddamn it, here we are.
Here we are.
So the phrase, right, believe all women is a complex one because, nigga, you probably shouldn't believe all anything. But what I think needs to happen is that every case, regardless of who is bringing the allegation and who the recipient of the allegation is, needs to be taken seriously, right?
Mm.
What I think we've seen in the past historically is allegations, especially when it comes from a woman to a man of power or status, not being taken seriously, especially depending on where that woman falls on the spectrum of power and status. Mm-hmm. So I think what we need to do is address those allegations seriously, but seriously means that we need to address them not having already decided that the man is guilty. And we need to address them seriously in the sense that they should be addressed by people whose job it is to address them and not necessarily for us to try these cases in the court of public opinion. So when I hear that something like this is going on, it makes me sad because it probably means Joe did something fucked up. Whether or not he's quote unquote canceled for me will depend on the facts that come out later. But there is no, for me, once you find out for sure that somebody's done that, there is no separating the artist. You support them when you listen to their streams or whatever, all that. So you're gonna have to make a serious decision about where your morals lie in that regard. But I think, like you said, man, that line of this moment that we're in of women saying, hey, we feel uncomfortable. Hey, niggas is nasty. Hey, like this shit has been fucked up and y'all are ignoring it. We can leave it up to other people to decide who ends up being right or ends up being wrong. But I think we as men need to first be prepared to do the work and have the conversations amongst ourselves of, okay, niggas, clearly some of us is nasty up in this, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
how do we change the culture away from to be more protective of women than predatory? And two, like, bro, there was a second one, but it's gone. But niggas,
Gone.
don't be fucking up out here.
Bro, it kind of lends to a very interesting phenomenon that happens in South Africa when it comes to the way women react to allegations, and a growing sentiment that I've recognized, which is very interesting, is that because of just how I agree with you in the sense that there has to be due process that has to be followed, but because of how due process has failed women so much in the past, that the overcompensation of the overcompensation of the response to the small fraction, or small acts of uncomfortability to full blown heinous acts of sexual predatory behavior is met with a strong stick. The same axes used to cut that across the board, and it's to say that because if you have to put the needle is now literally on empty, so we have to put 300 in the tank just to be at halfway. You know what I mean? And it's a very fascinating thing that I see, and I don't think it's anybody's place to be able to tell women to calm down on the way that they feel to do that. As somebody that is currently protesting, I don't want anybody to come at me and tell me how to express my anger, frustrations, and plight through my protest. And I see this as a protest. That being said, with the Joe case, man, it really is sad. It really is sad. I hope the truth is able to shine its light, because as you know, as a black man, that's a black man that I find very very valuable to the culture, to the ecosystem. One whose mind is definitely focused on being able to push forward the needle for creatives and things of that nature. So I definitely, I hope that's not necessarily the case, but I am very interested in what they are looking to do with their podcast. I think Charlamagne beat them to the punch on that one. I think the Black Excellence podcast, the Black Excellence Black Effect Network that Charlamagne just launched, beat them to the punch on that one.
Not unless he owns it.
He does. He owns it 50%.
You gotta own it.
It's a joint venture of 50-50. It's a 50-50 joint venture.
Yeah,
that's as much ownership as it isn't.
Yeah, I'd have to check into more about the deal. I mean, I'm all for Black creatives, but I did think that Joe was correct when he addressed Charlamagne, saying that we're not fighting the same fight. So beat him to the punch. I don't know if that sounds correct to me, but
yeah.
A win for sure for the culture. I'm interested to see who he lines that roster with. Podcast in terms of who fills that space.
It's gonna be interesting. It's definitely gonna be interesting. And we support it. We support Black excellence in that regard. We support Black platforms. We support Black ownership. And so that also is something that's extremely, extremely exciting, and something that I'm very happy for. I think it's been evident that Charlamagne's time at the front of the camera is reaching its end, not because of his capabilities, but I don't think his interests seemingly do not lie to be at the front of the camera anymore. And I'm glad that he's building something that's as big and as meaningful to be able to be behind the camera for things that he cares about. That's fly to me.
Yeah, I mean, Charlamagne I've been up and down with Charlamagne in the past. I was really tapped in and appreciative of the Breakfast Club. It seemed like between 2004 and 2016, 17. They went on a run of just very important conversations, highlighting really important Black voices and still doing the hip hop thing justice. It seems like they kind of strayed away from that. I know Charlemagne was really instrumental in bigging up Angela Rye, to the hip hop community. Some of the first conversations I heard with Michael Eric Dyson were on the Breakfast Club. So whatever he does next, I hope it is in that direction. I hope it is actively, consciously, loudly Black in its content, not just in its structure. Though the structure is a huge win. I hope everybody over there, from the creators to the mic engineers, everybody like that is Black and gets paid. Yeah, man, I'm definitely gonna be checking for that and watching that.
I'll put it like this, and this is like, and you're telling me what you think. I think Joe would be a better mentor. Charlemagne would be a better boss.
Yeah. How much of being a boss is mentorship to you? If you're to you, I guess. Well, from whose perspective?
I'd rather be employed under Charlemagne, and I'd rather be mentored under Joe. Is what I'm saying.
I don't know. That's interesting. I would probably. Right? The mentorship from Joe, and that the space that he occupies so far from the mainstream would be valuable to me and what I want to do. But I think that there would probably be more structure, more security, more all that under Charlemagne for sure. Yeah. So I think so. We can go a couple places with that conversation. I mean, I think there is more to say for sure about women and the treatment of women by Black men, or we can kind of take it in the direction of Black creatives and people who both that we look up to, that we acknowledge in the space right now. We talked a little bit about, who we are in this moment that we're dealing with right now, COVID, racism, all that. But also, yeah, we could talk about what's the landscape like as far as content and shit.
Let's keep it light, because we have a lot of episodes and conversations coming later about feminism, gender-based violence, and woman empowerment, and I don't want to do it justice by skipping over it or doing it hastily. I do definitely, and also more importantly, I want to have a woman who is a part of that conversation at the same time too. So if we take it towards the creative route, I'll say that some of the flyest creative moves that I've seen recently from people of color is, I definitely am appreciating, obviously, Jay-Z at all times, right? And that seems like that's like a cop-out, right? Jay-Z, you can, when it comes to a question about Black anything, you can almost go to Jay-Z for it. But I do definitely think that Jay and Diddy, what they're doing in building these mega institutions of Black content done the right way and Black activism done the right way is something that I definitely look up to and I find pretty neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Kevin Hart, actually.
Yeah, I think both of those are great examples of what we touched on earlier as far as Black capitalism and how that can, the conversation to be had there about whether capitalism can be used as a tool to uplift people, and the space that it occupies in this moment of revolution, of social change. I think, Jay has also just been a pillar to me in terms of like, even when I was hearing different things than he was saying, I think just his tone and his way of just kind of approaching things, that boss mentality was huge for me, just in terms of like my mind state, in terms of believing that I could manifest my dreams, believing that, hard work would pay off. it didn't hit for me, and the black poster border with the white letters that said challenge with the rock climber shit. It didn't hit for me watching, Top Gun like it did for a lot of these white boys. Jay was the
Top Gun, Dirty Dancing.
This is like white 80s movies, but like, for me, what really hit in terms of like, what you can take control of your life and be a boss and even the way that Jay kind of uses image as like not necessarily like, let me take a bunch of selfies, let me have my face all over but like my image is how I relate to the world. That's something that I've definitely taken from Jay. It's like, you know what I mean? That image doesn't have to be about how I look. It can be about, how I relate to the world, how I want to be seen, and how I can represent who I am on the inside physically. With art and with, design and stuff like that. So Jay is huge for me. Off of music, Dave Chappelle, I think it's a huge, like, just creative mind that is like, is constantly setting off the neurons in my head in terms of thinking bigger and in terms of thinking about things in different ways, about the ways that nuance can be brought to subjects that seem so black and white. The ways that which we do have the vocabulary and the emotional range to discuss topics that set people on fire and are so quote unquote triggering in depth and with detail, but also with care for people. So Dave has been huge. Who else, man? Kendrick. I see rumblings that Kendrick is back. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, and I'm glad you went there. Because I wanted to ask you, bro, what type of
Just a sec.
What type of Kendrick? Siri gotta chill. What type of Kendrick do we think we're gonna get?
I don't know. And
I think it's gonna be basic.
Well, Kendrick, I kind of get the sense that he might not try and do too much on the political side too. But I don't need it to be that. You know what I mean? And this is part of the conversation that I wanted to continue about women and violence. And as I get further into like, checking out who is doing the work, you know what I mean? As I get further into looking into the activists and organizers and authors and writers and creatives, journalists that are doing this work, I need that less and less from my musical artists. You know what I mean? I love Kendrick for carrying that torch with To Pimp a Butterfly. I love, how holistic a view into the life of a black boy Good Kid, Mad City gave. But the more as I find these other people who are inspiring with the work that they do directly in these social areas, the less I need my artists to make that, for me to get that from that, to be reassured that is happening, that people are thinking this way.
Yeah.
So if I just get some smooth dot, but it's lyrically there and the production is there, then I won't be disappointed if it's not a March album. If y'all want some rap to march to, go check out Bobby Sessions, nigga. That nigga been putting out mixtape after mixtape of Black Revolution. That shit is literally called Revolution, my nigga. If that's what you're looking for, go get that.
He explains it in the hook.
He explains it in many hooks, nigga. Go get that shit.
Which album does Kendrick have to be better than? Like, if we had to like guess, which album does he definitely have to beat? What's his competition album in terms of reclaiming him as the king of hip hop?
Oof.
It's like, which team would LeBron have to beat in the playoffs to be considered the king of the NBA?
This is interesting because there are a few answers. I mean, you could reestablish. Oh, damn, this sounds like hate. Big Sean's album wasn't bad, but you could reestablish how far you are above Big Sean and other artists.
Nah, don't do that. Don't do that to Big Sean.
Because that's what if you listen, that's kind of what Damn was. Damn was like kind of a more quintessential hip hop album, with tracks like Love and DNA, Humble, you know what I mean? That other artists might attempt a Damn. Other artists is not going to attempt To Pimp a Butterfly, right? But so I think he could make another album that sets him apart from
the mainstream artists in that regard. Like I can do this mainstream stream shit still better than y'all, even after being quiet for 2 years. But what I don't think what we're gonna get, but what I would like is for Kendrick to be like low key checking this vibe that Griselda's getting with this dark shit and be like, all right, y'all like dark production, y'all like menacing bars, y'all like, just like chopping up beats.
Hip hop.
Hip hop, yes.
Hip hop.
Hip hop, nigga.
Hip hop. Drown me in hip hop. Drown me in hip hop. That's what it is, dude. I think, like, you said everything you needed to say. I get it, bro. Drown me in hip hop, please. I don't give a fuck if you bring Terrace Martin in it. Them dudes just did that Dinner Party album, Terrace Martin, Kamai Washington, Fly Low. All them dudes have worked with K-Dot, and they know how to put out some quality shit. And so it's like, for sure, like, go all the way hip hop with it. And I'd love to see that.
Yeah, man. It's incredible just to, like, going back through his discography. It's like, well, what kind of album would I like? Like, if you look back through his discography, especially if you go back to Section 80 and some of the stuff, but from around that time too, it's like a lot of what you would want is another version of that, right? The only thing he hasn't really done is just give us just hip hop, just bars, nigga. Don't
Hip hop.
No structure for songs, you know what I mean? Let some songs not have a hook, not have a chorus, you know what I mean?
Bars.
You don't gotta do the beat switch ups, just go in. But we'll see what we get. I'm excited, man. Whenever I think of Kendrick though as a at the forefront of hip hop that matches my mind state, of modern hip hop that matches my mind state, right? I'm always reminded heavily of Nip, man. And if we want to talk about, people in the space that, really have spoken to my experience, shaped my experience, you know what I mean? And yours as well, I know maybe a bit had a drop. Nipsey Hussle, man. Yeah.
He's on the wall. I explained it on the wall.
He explained it on the wall.
No.
Nip, bro. Yeah.
No, for sure. And I was actually, it's funny you say that because I was going to say, I think Victory Lap is the barometer. And I think that definitely give me something that's hip hop, but if you're not going that hip hop route, then beat or meet Victory Lap. Or beat or meet Victory Lap. I think that's it. I mean, his verse on Dedication on Victory Lap, Kendrick's verse on Dedication on Victory Lap, that's incredible. And if he has that in store, then I'd love to hear an album of that type of consciousness. Also, I'd dig some Schoolboy Q, ratchet beats, artistic, odd take on hip hop. I'll take that.
Yeah. Definitely want
with Anderson .Paak features and SZA features, Isaiah Rashad ad libs. Like I'll take it. And Drake Hook, I'll take all of it.
Bars. Bring us bars.
For sure.
Yeah,
sure.
man. Another person whose journey has been real interesting to me, I think, is Meek. Meek's music has always hit me in a different way. I love, just the story, seeing what he was able to do coming out of the Free Meek movement, out of the kind of prison reform, directly having an impact on his life. And I'm still interested to see, what his next project is like. Something tells me he may have kind of reverted just talking about what he was talking about before, but that music always slapped to me, so I'm here for that. But he's one of the people that I'm continuing to watch as hip hop evolves, man.
Yeah. Also, Championships is another one of those albums you put next to Victory Lap in terms of the albums that K-Dot would have to match in regards to impact and quality.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to, and I think, down the line, what I would like for this podcast to be a part of is, hip hop is aging. We're seeing, something it being done. The Nas album, right, just dropped at a high level, by folks that are continuing to age. And by hip hop, I don't necessarily just mean rap, but I mean that spirit of, you know, inclusivity, of style, of, you know, bending the system to match the creation, and not the opposite. You know what I mean? Of supporting the creator, of community. If I didn't say that yet already, you know what I mean? Like, this show is hip hop at its core. As much as we might talk about serious things, as much as we might, you know, blend so many other elements of comedy and you know, politics or whatever, the show is hip hop at the end of the day, man. It's hip
to its core.
Music, it's hip hop in its spirit. And so, yeah, man, I think that's something incredible to watch. You know, Jay's 444, Nas's most recent album, the shit that Black Thought continues to do, the shit that Royce is doing, you know, even Charlemagne, like you're seeing hip hop age and grow. Right?
Age gracefully.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah, very gracefully. So, you know, I want to be a part of that and bring, you know, the people along for the ride, man, for the ups and downs, for the slow jams and the dance songs and the, you know, all that, man. We want y'all to rock with it, do all of that. Hip hop forever.
What a better way to put a bow on it? You know, want you to rock with us through all them things, and you know, hip hop forever. I couldn't have put it a better way. You know, and I think this first episode that we did now is a perfect way of covering everything that we'll potentially talk about. Next week, I want to address how some controversial, how white folks don't like to talk about the Black plight. We'll get to that one next week. But, you know, in terms of a first episode, I'm very happy with the tone that this episode came out in. I'm very happy of the ease of communication in it, and the topics, and what better way to end it than hip hop forever. And I think that's a great first episode name.
Y'all hear that? It's in the bag. It's in the bag, man. Yes. So, man, yeah, just to in conclusion, bro, like, this is speaking to that transparency aspect, right? I think that we have conversations about what we got in the stash, how to put this out, and I want to bring those conversations live to, you know, the pod. So on the next episode, you might hear us talk about a little bit about this episode, reference it, definitely talk about any comments or anything that y'all drop and leave. But yeah, man, so if you support this, if you heard anything, something that you fuck with, something that you want to hear more about, like, subscribe, follow, check for us.
Please.
Yeah, man, for sure. Comment. Tell us what you think, publicly or privately. All feedback is like more than welcome. Because none of these conversations are done. We have more to say about all of this shit. And I think that this episode, including its tone, including, you know, everything we touched on, the little introductions, is perfect in its imperfection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything that we're starting to put out is us, I think, realizing that, you know, we might have something, and that, you know, we see if y'all fuck with it. I mean, for me, the vision of this ultimately all the way live is really all the way live, for us to be able to do this live, for us to be able to talk to y'all, you know what I'm saying? Have y'all comment in real time, whatever. Had a little heart stream floating up on the side, like the versus battle, like all of that shit, you know? I want people sharing music in the comments, all of that, bro. So yeah, this is ongoing. You are into something early. That's very special, I think. So
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, bro. So hey, bro.
I think so too.
We know you have entirely too many choices when it comes to podcasts these days, but we appreciate you rocking with All the Way Live, man. Live in the sense that we are celebrating life. Live in the sense that we are celebrating Black people, Black life, and live in the sense that you are hearing us work this shit out in real time. You are hearing our thoughts, damn near off the dome, man. Really bearing it, being honest, being vulnerable. So, like that, peace, water, we gone.